Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really awesome review for you from the brand Nodus. A little about them: they were founded back in 2017 out of Long Beach, California, and LA County here in California. Nodus is Latin for node. It's basically the intersection of two paths, and they consider it where quality meets affordability and heritage meets modernity, and design, of course, meeting functionality. Now, they're really known for being just a modern micro brand, fan favorite, offering high quality, high value wristwatches. These are designed, assembled, and regulated in the US, and they do offer a 2-year, 24-month warranty. In terms of the type of watch, I'd consider this an everyday kind of outdoor adventure watch because it's sporty, legible, tough, and capable. This is their Unity model, and it takes inspiration from real occurrences of texture found across nature. The real star of the show is that fixed ceramic insert, which is colored, cast, and polished to create a flush bezel that flows from crystal to case naturally. And then it has, of course, that deep stamped sunray dial that echoes the texture of a citrus fruit or the bark of a tree. Really, this model has been one that I've been following within kind of the Nodus inner circle groups. They had a black dial prototype that really caught my eye, but I know that they really wanted to kind of be some of the first to market with some of these really special ceramic colors that they're using here within these bezel inserts. So very cool, and of course it's just kind of part of their DNA to really lead from the front and get ahead of trends. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, so the press embargo is up on these. So these did recently debut at Wind Up in San Francisco, which unfortunately I wasn't able to make it out this year. But hey, if any of you watch brands are watching, feel free to sponsor me for a trip next year. I'm totally up to go get some more coverage there. In terms of this one, it's going to be $700 direct, and orders do open May 5th. So Cinco de Mayo is going to be up for some fun within this space. In terms of the dimensions, it's of course, giving you what the market is asking for in terms of kind of smaller, more manageable wristwatches. Not everybody has a big wrist like me. This is 36.5 millimeters in diameter with an 11.3 millimeter height and a 43.2 millimeter lug to lug. And you can see, even though it does have female end links that they do protrude quite a bit, they don't slope all the way down. They do have a nice down slope on them. But if you were to go to the extremities here, it'd be about 50 millimeters. So even then, that's still not super long, 50, especially when you're considering you're just counting that middle kind of end link versus the whole case being elongated that far. Now, everything, of course, is 316L stainless steel, brushed and polished. You can see some nice chamfers there, just a couple fingerprints. Let me give them a quick little wipe here off camera. Check it out, guys. Very handsomely done. And this is a pre-production prototype that is, from my understanding, is going to be very close to the production unit. This might even be one of the latter from the production run. So I know I did get it semi early. I mean, I think people already I think there's early bird customers who might already have these even before I even posted this video. So the main theme here is having this fixed ceramic insert being perfectly color matched with that beautifully textured dial that is reminiscent, I'd say, kind of a micro brand version of like the Mount Iwate Grand Seiko style of dial, where it's coming from that kind of center pinion radiating outwards. Just a lot different than your typical sunray dial, but adding a lot more dimension, which is really nice. And of course, you do have the color matched date wheel. A lot of people are asking for that. And then these really cool kind of sandwich applied indexes that they are reminiscent of the Duality, which is my favorite Nodus watch to date. And this thing is really cool. A little, definitely on the smaller side in terms of what I normally would wear, but because of that color matched dial to the bezel, it actually does help give the watch more wrist presence. Also, 20 millimeter lugs, again, it helps give the watch more wrist presence. So it's one of those things where visually they're doing a lot of tricks as well to make this more wearable. And of course, it is smaller. So if you have a smaller wrist, it's going to be wearable. But they've also done some things so where if you have a larger wrist, I think you'll still find it quite comfortable, depending, of course, on the size of your wrist. And then, of course, your own personal style and preference. The movement inside, although you can't see it, is a automatic Miyota 9015, and you can see a nice solid etched case back there. Although you can't see the movement, it has been regulated in 4 positions to about plus or minus 8 seconds per day, which is good to go in my book. And again, that is what they regulated at. There's a lot of people who will send out these movements unregulated, and then you're kind of relying on the really outer tolerances of the movement, and those outer tolerances aren't super impressive. So it's nice that they are doing some regulation. They're getting multiple positions in there, and they're even sending you the results of those typically within the packaging, which is very nice. Now, getting into some of these details, guys, I mean, let's just breathe this in there. That thing is just pretty captivating, I would say. So you're getting this textured sandwich dial, of course, with those applied frames, finely beveled hands, and lume, really well applied there. And you can see the handset is actually pretty reminiscent of my Grand Seiko SBGM 245, my GMT. And that is not a bad thing. These are impressive, multi-finished and faceted hands. And I really, again, I just appreciate that level of attention to detail you're seeing in a watch that's $700. And some of you are like, that's a lot of money for a Miyota. Honest, there are Miyota, these movements are in watches that cost multiples of that, thousands of dollars. Those aren't the most popular watches. They can be more niche, but just something to put in perspective. If you're buying a Chrono Tokyo watch with a Miyota 9015 in it, I mean, it's the same movement, except here you're actually going to get the thing regulated. So I think that's pretty cool. And I know a lot of people, it's unfortunately with micro brands, a lot of it these days has been a race to the bottom who can offer you the cheapest watch. I can appreciate that Nodus isn't trying to do that. They're not trying to be the cheapest watch. They're trying to offer you the best watch at the best value. Again, it's that intersection of value and that, and design and heritage and just all those little cross sections, finding those great opportunities to just offer something very different in a very saturated market. Let's be honest. Micro brands are huge right now, and a lot of fashion brands are even following micro brand, kind of the space that they're building, kind of like micro breweries in terms of beer. Of course, I'm in San Diego, so I have a lot of experience with all the great micro breweries out here. And it's the same kind of for micro brands. You really have to have that differentiation. And I think that's one of the things that Nodus really excels at. You're going to get BGW9 and grade A lume. So yes, grade A lume. It's going to be quite nice. 150 meters of water resistance, which is great. Screw down crown that I actually forgot to mention. Nice size here. I will say that to the touch here, this can feel a little bit sharp. I think sharper than it needs to be. I mean, obviously I like the level of finish there, that it is sharply finished, but I think to the touch that could be improved. That's probably my only little commentary in terms of what could probably be better on this watch, besides making it slightly larger. I would love this in a 38.5, but that's just me and my larger wrists. So yeah, you with that additional water resistance, that makes this extremely versatile. Sure, I mean, in this color palette, you're thinking fun summertime watch, but within that summer fun, you can really take this thing anywhere. It's well within that go anywhere, do anything, everyday adventure space. You're getting, of course, the durability of sapphire and ceramic. You're getting 150 meters of water resistance. So, I mean, you can get down and dirty with your most, adventurous water sports, whatever it may be. This thing is just going to be good to go. And I really do like that a lot. Now, getting to something really fun on here, guys, the bracelet. So it tapers down from 20 to 16. It has screw pin connectors. And I think it's really, really well done. These links are actually, they kind of are symmetrical. Like they normally you'll have an underside and an overside. Here they're all kind of the same, which I think is really different and kind of neat. You still get the flat polish, but you're also getting some nice rounded surfaces, of course, broken edges so it's not sharp to the touch, nice high polish, and a really beautifully finished clasp. You guys have seen this Nodus clasp before, and it's really ingenious in terms of what they're able to offer at the price point, in-house engineered and executed there. Really beautiful. I like the way that it flows here. You're seeing the multi-finish, nicely signed. You get the triggers, and the nice thing here is it's actually, I believe this is all pressed steel. In terms of it being kind of like but it's cut in a way that feels quality, right? Even the clasp itself, although I believe the outer housing is milled, the buttons themselves are, I believe, just formed steel there. And then the inside of this clasp, like, it keeps everything really light and tidy so it flows really nice. And then, of course, you have this functionality there, toolless micro adjust / extension. I think it's a bit unsightly when you extend it all the way. So what I'm always going to do is fit it to my wrist pretty much at the tightest position. Then if I need to let my wrist breathe, nice thing is you get about, out of those 4 positions or so, you can get 2 clicks out, and I think it still is fine. And then you can get emergency clicks, if needed, and then you kind of have it. And it's not the greatest look with it extended like that, but again, that's not going to be seen by you. So if you do need to slide it over a wetsuit or something like that, or, you want to let your uncle or your dad, father-in-law, somebody try it on and they just have a larger wrist, hey, you could probably do that. Or let's say it's your wife's watch and you want to be able to wear it every once in a while, and you throw the quick extension out and you can borrow it, because this, honestly, with the sizing, the color palettes, it definitely has something where there's, I think, a lot of crossover appeal. So with that said, let's actually get this piece on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay, guys, as you can see, even on my 7.5-inch wrist, this thing has still got some nice wrist presence and doesn't feel overly small. And if I get my wrist particularly close to the camera here, you're getting a lot of lens distortion. Some of you might say that looks a little big. So what I'll do is I'll keep my wrist nice and low and then just tighten up the shot here so you guys can get a better framed idea of how this will look at a bit of a truer aspect ratio of how it might wear on your wrist. You can see it is tidy, it is small, and definitely more on that vintage inspired sizing, while having nothing but kind of modern looks. I mean, even the way the light plays off of the bracelet there, I mean, that is immaculate. The curvature, the way the lugs slope down, I mean, it just wears really, really beautifully. And I do appreciate the time they took getting into those ergonomics. And even for me with a larger wrist, this, again, I think looks right at home and looks really, really cool. So very nice from that aspect. Look at how flat that is. It's just a tidy watch that's actually packing quite a punch in terms of capability and in design. I mean, you're getting those really cool, applied sandwich style. Who else does that besides Nodus? Not a lot of folks. Not that I can think of anyway, but hey, if there are any, leave me comments down below. And then you also get that great textured dial, which is really, really nice, and it definitely pops. It's not in your face though, which is great. It's not something to where it's going to be like unsightly or overbearing. If I get the camera to focus there you go. It's just looks really good, and then of course you give it a closer look, and then you feel a bit even more impressed by it, and I like that. So Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit smaller than my typical comfort zone. It's pushing it just a bit, but I think at the same time, this is totally wearable. And I do like to wear my watches a little higher on the wrist. Bet you if I had it a little bit lower on the wrist, it would probably still, it may even look a little bit better lower on the wrist there. Maybe more on the wrist bone instead of as high above as I had it before. You can see it looks quite proportional, right? And that's cool. Of course, things are going to look a little different depending on your attire, right? When you consider a whole human being. But I will say that this thing is pretty versatile. And would I still like it in a larger size? Sure. Do I think they will make it in a larger size? No, I don't think they will. This is a micro brand we're talking about, not Omega, where they're going to have multiple size variations. If you want a larger Nodus watch, there are plenty of other choices that are out there. So maybe they'll start integrating, some more of these technologies and styles found into some of their larger range watches, or maybe they do come out with a larger version. That'd be cool too. But my expectations are never going to be like, oh, well, a brand's going to cater to me. And unfortunately, a lot of you guys miss out on great watches because you're waiting for a brand to cater to your own personal tastes. At the end of the day, they have to build the watch that they want to build in terms of their vision for it. And if you're part of that demo that it resonates with, that's awesome. And if you're not, then there's always other offerings that are there. So with that said, let's actually get this piece off the rest, set up for some Lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Oh yes, check that out. You even have the framed window reverse there, and you have it loomed, which is fantastic. So you're going to really easily have your cardinal positioning, so your orientation will be great because where 6 o'clock is means where 12 o'clock is, right? So very, very nice. This lume is fantastic. I won't even jump into the low light super fast. I'll let you guys kind of breathe in some of this outstanding, well applied lume. And that's one of the things you can really appreciate from micro brands in terms of, they know the things that us watch fans geek out on, and they really deliver from that perspective. But then I'd say a differentiation, again, where Nodus likes to really take it up another notch is during the daylight, you guys noticed this was optically very white in terms of those indexings. So the indices aren't going to have a big tint of lume during daylight. They're going to just appear white visually. And I think that's what a lot of people prefer. I mean, it is nice to, of course, get that C3 glow, that day glow you get once in a while, right? It does have kind of a vintage effect, but this feels a lot more modern, and it's a modern watch, so I think it really fits. Sure, you get into Seiko Luma Bright, and a lot of times it can also have that kind of day glow lume. Here, you're seeing outstanding night performance, and then on the other side of that, highly contrasting, very clean appearance during daylight. So I don't know, it's nice when you can kind of get it on both ends of the spectrum there, and it's rare, right? So it's nice to let's give credit where credit is due. But one thing, of course, I always like to work in is going to be that low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs. Holy smokes, check out that dial. Or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree, or spending some time in your favorite automobile. So it's nice to see what these colors, finishes, and textures render like in less than optimal lighting. To maybe even include some harsh lighting, which typically could expose any types of production defects there. All you're going to see, though, is very nice uniform flow over that brushing there on the bracelet. Of course, that beautiful glossy finish there really is going to render pretty much very similar and follow the color transition of that dial. So very, very nice from that perspective. And then the dial, sometimes you're going to see just a bright color pop, and sometimes you're going to see a little sun ray kind of sunburst like vivid streak going through there. And sometimes you're going to get the full Monty of all of the, all the extra amount of texturing on there depending on how the light plays and catches there. So very, very cool. And of course, you know, that is just one of the things us watch lovers really enjoy, is seeing the way the light can play with the watch. And this one definitely engages. I mean, this thing is a sports at this point. It's not just recreational fun. This is absolutely light dominance when it comes to the way that it is, from its flat link bracelet to its high polished bevels, down to, of course, the beautifully textured dial and the very different glossy finish that you're going to get. I mean, there's just so many things going on. I really appreciate that it all flows together in a unified design. See what I did there? And look at it, even at this angle, it's giving you just a little bit of different play than when we had it, you know, set up parallel in the beginning of the video. So closing thoughts, guys, on the wrist, really nice proportions, very comfortable and balanced wear. That color matched bezel definitely helps add additional presence for larger wrist visual impact. The 20 millimeter lug width also helps it not feel undersized. And if it had an 18 millimeter lug width, I think it would be unwearable for me, honestly. But with a 20 millimeter lug width, similar to, let's say, something like a Rolex Explorer one, that is going to be 36 millimeters with a 20 millimeter lug, somehow it helps a lot, which is nice. In terms of model variants, this is also available in a pink combination, but definitely check the site links for availability. From that perspective, I'm hoping this line does well so we can see them expand into some of the other colorways that they were testing. Even the black dial option, man, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that one will eventually be released, because it was just quite a stunner in my opinion, and definitely leaned a little bit more on the masculine side. You know, not that this colorway is, you know, is feminine, it's just more kind of dual purpose, and I think it's nice, it's fun. This thing will look killer on an orange rubber strap, and it would actually be right at home because it does have a good amount of water resistance, all the water resistance you're going to need anyway. So in terms of comparable models, you know, I'd say while that Explorer Aquaterra alternative everyday adventure space may be more saturated now than in past years, I think you guys have all noticed a lot of brands are moving, say micro brands are moving away from just the typical dive watch release. I think the dynamic textures and colors used here keep the Unity feeling fresh. So, you know, even amongst its peers that are going to have maybe similar sizes, similar specs, similar movement, you know, where you're going to get a lot of this, besides maybe that ceramic bezel insert. I think spec-wise, you're not going to see too many with a ceramic bezel insert like this, just because it's just very forward thinking and very cool. I actually have a fixed ceramic bezel insert on my Astron, which is a much more expensive Seiko, and it has a textured dial as well, and it looks really, really cool, and it's a smaller watch that wears larger because of that. So it's nice to see that here in this super affordable range, you know, well under $1,000. So for me, guys, bottom line, the Unity is a great example of why I truly believe Nodus are one of the top micro brands today. This is just such a compelling model from start to finish, from the theme to execution. It's all very much top shelf, and I think it's a great representation of you know, the brand and the guys that run the brand, which are also solid, cool guys. If you're ever in the Southern California area, I wouldn't doubt if you'd be able to pretty easily run into them at a local kind of watch gathering. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.